Hey there, guys. I'm Stephen Rivera with Rokt, and you're watching the CPG Guys.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bobby Watts with AD Retail Media, and you're watching the CPG Guys.
Welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our hosts, Sri Raj Gopalan, Peter V.S. Bond, and Brian Gildenberg explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys.
Welcome to this episode of the CPG Guys podcast. I'm, of course, Sri, co-founder and co-host of the CPG Guys and co-founder and partner of Think Blue. Your key to unlocking your profitability potential is builders, connectors, and amplifiers. We shape the future of commerce to drive your growth. Please do listen to my older daughter, Ria Raj's music. That's www.riaraj.com, R-H-E-A-R-A-J. My younger daughter, Laura Raj, is a member of the Geffen Records Universal Music Group, Cat's Eye, while my wife, Kavita Raj, has her own podcast, Lights, Camera, Convo, on iHeartRadio and all streaming platforms. Cat's Eye, of course, since we've been speaking on the show, has completed the debut, done their first fan event. Where else but Staples Center? Currently is touring in Asia, that's Philippines, Japan, and Korea, and then headed over to Paris for Fashion Week, crossed 1 million followers on TikTok, Instagram. The debut single, Touch, has already made the Billboard 100 and Spotify Top 50 in the US. I can go on, but of course, joining me today is none other than my BFF, Mr. Peter B.S. Bond. And when he's not co-hosting this podcast, he serves as Partnership Acceleration Lead at Flywheel, a division of Omnicom that helps enterprise brands improve their SEO and SEM, growing their e-commerce businesses. Mr. Bond, I think it has been predetermined. Yankees-Dodgers, World Series, 7 games. Look at me, 7 games. How arrogant.
We're going to be flying back and forth that last week of October. It's going to get a little crazy, Sri. Normally, I would talk about that and make mention of the fact that the Dodgers, despite the Yankees' walk-off single last night by Juan Soto, that the Dodgers still retain the best record in baseball. But there's something more I want to talk about today because the news is broken. The CPG Guys have partnered with the Executive Education Department at the Cornell School of Business at Cornell University next May 5th through the 8th in Manhattan at Cornell Tech's campus. The CPG Guys will be co-producing with Cornell an exec ed program called Retail Media Strategy. It is a in-person live event designed to accelerate the credible growth that has been taking place in retail media, make sure that all of the ecosystem partners are really grounded around how to advance this to the benefit of consumers, brands, and retailers. We're really excited about it. This is the first of its kind program in education, and we're so happy to be doing that with Cornell.
How awesome, Peter. I didn't know we were ready to announce. That's why I didn't have it in a pre-planned conversation over here, but here we go. We're Cornell, we're here, man, and we're going to see you next May, and we're going to get a bunch of people educated on retail media. And I know our guests today, being in that space, are probably chomping at the bit to ask us after the show, give us more. So before we get to our guests, we want to ask you to help spread the word about this community we've created in the CPG Guys. Beyond sharing our podcast with your friends, if you're using Apple Podcasts or Spotify as your preferred listening platform, leave us a rating, as it helps feed the algorithm that makes us more findable by CPG retail people like you looking for your education and entertainment. We've always said this is a baseball podcast that also talks CPG. We're happy that CPG Guys is part of an impressive collective of highly rated podcasts, including CPG Scoop with Risa and Jennifer, the FMCG Guys with Daniel, Efrain, and Christine, and drumroll please, all 3 teams will be attending Grocery Shop this year in Las Vegas, October 6 to 9. Please make sure to say hello to all 3 of us. Links to our podcast, our sister cast, and the social media profiles of my daughters, Ria and Laura, my wife's podcast, may be found in the digital liner notes of this episode. Going forward, you'll also find links to the Cornell event in May next year, Retail Media Program, Exec Ed. Now to the main event. Today's CPG landscape has accelerated a decade in the last 4 years since the beginning of the pandemic as far as omnichannel retail is concerned. I still remember the McKinsey article that came out November or December, late fall 2020, indicating that, and it has played out to the bone. A whole maturity with the digital shopper, habits on how to build a path to purchase is emerging in the CPG industry. One of the areas that requires profound transformation as a result is user experience, and how retail media is requiring, almost mandating, better user experiences for the customer. Technology is at the forefront, making the possibility of significantly scaling personalized customer experiences possible and changing how a consumer shops. To have that very discussion on the CPG Guys today, we have two guests on this episode. Our first guest, applaud please, is a return guest from ADUSA. We had him back in the show back on Jan 25, 2023, and I can't believe it's been a hot 18 months since then. It's none other than Bobby Watts, SVP Executive Lead, AD Retail Media from ADUSA. Bobby will also be joining us live at Grocery Shop from the Tech Talk stage in a few weeks on Tuesday, October 8th. More details to come on that. We have a focused episode on AD Retail Media. Also joining us is Stephen Rivera, Senior Director of Strategic Retail Accounts at Rokt. Please welcome Bobby and Stephen to the show. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. How are you guys doing today? Bobby?
Yeah, doing well. Thank you guys for having me.
Stephen?
Doing good. Appreciate being here. Excited.
Thank you for making time for us to record early morning on a weekday. I'm incredibly excited, and so is Peter, to speak with you today about the space of retail media, customer experience, what the future holds, what you guys have been cooking together, and discover Rokt's value proposition. Bobby, before we get to the detailed questions we've prepared for you today, it would be great if you give us a brief overview of AD Media and your role there.
Yeah, happy to, Sri, and thanks again for you and Peter for having me on the show, and Stephen, happy to be here with you as well. So AD Retail Media is the retail media network within Ahold Delhaize USA, and we power all of the retail media activities that go on across our 5 great local brands. So Hannaford, Stop and Shop, Giant Food, The Giant Company, and Food Lion. You're probably familiar with those grocery store chains up and down the East Coast. And so we're just really proud to be able to bring those omni-channel experiences to our shoppers through our retail media capabilities.
Stephen, I'll ask you to do the same and tell us what you do for Rokt and its primary value proposition, please.
Yes, absolutely. So thanks again for having me. Really, really excited to be here. I am currently a senior director working at Rokt, overseeing our strategic key retail relationships. I've been with Rokt for about 6 years now, always operating on the client side. Rokt is an e-commerce personalization platform really anchored on what we call the transaction moment. And that is anywhere from product selection all the way through the confirmation page. Sitting across about 4.6 billion transactions globally. Rokt uses machine learning, first-party data, and constant rapid experimentation design to really create surprise and delight for shoppers when they're moving out of the browsing mindset and they're moving into the transaction, which we have defined as a period where they are most opportunistic to engage and really take up offers.
Awesome. Thank you for those summaries, Bobby and Stephen. In the digital liner notes of this episode, we will place links to your LinkedIn profiles, your respective company's LinkedIn page, as well as your company's websites. That way, the people listening can easily connect back with you straight from their smartphones, as most of them do. And so we're off to the races now. Bobby, I'm going to start with you. Like I mentioned, it's been over a year and a half since we've had you on the show. A lot must have changed. There's probably new updates, upgrades to ADUSA Media. So we'd love for you to share what's going on there and how you're approaching total retail media and customer experience. And then how do you see this blend into the future, especially retail media network? I've mentioned it a few times now, customer experiences.
Yeah. So Sri, the way obviously it has been a while since I've been on the show, and I would say we've been just vehemently focused on the customer experience, but we've also been focused on doing that through what I would say is what I've said in the past is this omni-channel experience. So our strategy is easy activation wherever, and that's by, not a mistake that we chose those 3 words or just by happenstance. Like those 3 words are very meaningful to us within the strategy because all 3 of those have an impact to the customer and how we make shopping easy for them, how we give our advertisers an opportunity to activate across a multitude of channels and being able to really reach them wherever they are along that full path to purchase, if you will, and how they shop. And so for us, that's what we've been focused on. So you'll even see, some new partnerships to come. Rokt is a great example of that, where we've recently made the announcement around this partnership. But we've also done some things really looking beyond just the traditional on-site, off-site channels. We're looking more in-store now. And so our energy in the last several months has really been around how do we drive a more connected experience for the shopper in-store and online. And so for me, when I think about the great customer experience we're all trying to deliver here, it's really connecting that full path to purchase for them. And with our partnership with Rokt, for me specifically, how they fit into our strategy is really around how we surprise and delight customers across that full path to purchase. So we're reaching them in the open web. We get them in our store. We get them on our properties. And as you guys know, every customer right now is looking for value. They're looking for ways to save. And for me, like, that's part of making the shopping experience easy for them, is really how do you create an opportunity to showcase value to them. And that's where Rokt fits into our strategy right now, is like really surprising and delighting our consumers post checkout with something they didn't expect, where they can really garner some additional value, and engage with some quite honestly, some non-endemic brands that they wouldn't find traditionally in our stores.
Stephen, welcome to the podcast. We're really excited to have you here today and to talk about this partnership that you've established with ADUSA around surprising and delighting. So to that end, how do you fit into a retailer's retail media strategy, and how can you help, and to Bobby's point, non-endemic brands really address and surprise and delight these consumers with value? Like, what is the proposition here, and how does it work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's fair to say over the last 3-4 years coming out of COVID, there's been a huge boom in retail media. It's all over in terms of what big brands are talking about, investing from a resource perspective. How are brands thinking about improving the on-site customer experience and driving ancillary revenue in different parts of the online shopping experience that could drive that value, right? So I think Rokt is not necessarily I would say that we are complementary to retail media networks, yet we're not retail media. I mentioned that we're currently sitting across 4.6 billion transactions in this year. And what that really offers us as a business, being across so many different verticals, whether it be grocery, retail, entertainment, B2B, is the opportunity to really leverage the insights and learnings that we have about on-site behavioral transaction data, and then provide that back to our retailers and the brands that work with us to really improve the experiences that we're driving on-site. So a lot of the work that we're doing for brands like ADUSA really is pivoting them into the non-endemic arena. How do we surprise and delight customers with really premier, exclusive, third-party brands and give that experience to a shopper when they're completing the purchase on the confirmation page? Yet the same technology, AI and machine learning that we do to deploy those messagings can be applied to so many other solutions that Rokt proposes and offers, such as ways that we can improve loyalty initiatives. How do we get more people to sign up to your rewards program, download your app, opt into your credit card? And how do we take the performance of those initiatives and 10x them through driving AI and machine learning driven outcomes? So our tech stack, like I said earlier, is really everywhere in what we call the transaction moment. And that's really from product selection to confirmation page, where we really are looking to solve for relevance. Bobby mentioned something which I felt was so synergetic to the way that we think about our partnerships with brands is we're looking for easy activation and we're looking to drive value. I think that was the two things that when we were getting into partnership together, we knew would be on the brink of something really, really great, because we want our brands to be able to deploy Rokt in a very easy, light lift way, and then immediately start driving bottom line revenue for those businesses. So whether it be generated through non-endemic ad dollars or improved performance outcomes on their internal programming, we want to make those surprise and delight moments really quick, easy, light lift for the brands that we work with.
Peter, I want to say all rise, the judges here, but if you're not a Yankee fan, you have no clue what I'm talking about. At 53 home runs, I had to sneak this one in here. Judge has the league leading record this year, although he won't be on pace to cross 62 this year. His 53 is what's going to get us to the World Series. The reason I said that is he said the word, Peter. He said the most important word, artificial intelligence. I'm going to come back to that later, Stephen. Watch out. But Bobby, this one's for you. How do you help retail media networks measure the success of campaigns, which, in the last 2-3 years, there's been so much conversations, IAB trying to put measurement guidelines around it like they've done with the rest of media. And then if you keep Rokt in context, how does working with a partner like Rokt really fit in when it comes to measurement? And then, Stephen, I'd love to hear from you as well. When a brand chooses to do a partnership with you and you've got so many of the world's largest brands partnering with you, how do you measure success, and what constitutes a great benchmark for both of you. So Bobby, maybe you can go first.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So I think you said it right, Sri. So the IAB put out some recommendations here not too long ago. I think many retail media networks are looking at those, saying, how do we, go forward with those, whether it's through our own in-house built tech or with our third-party partners. How do we work with folks in order to deliver on those standards and those guidelines? I believe it's absolutely critical for the industry that we get there. I can't count the number of conversations I sit in day to day with our advertising partners where they're comparing, or there's misconceptions around the results. And so for me, that's critical that we do get there. When I think about how is it meaningful for our partners, or how is it meaningful for our customers, it's really about the correlated outcomes we're trying to drive, right? So when you think about the media plan and you think about what you're trying to deliver across, as I said before, that full path to purchase, it's really about leveraging the data that you have to be able to identify those correlated outcomes and then tie that back to the performance in a really transparent way with our advertisers. So that's what we're focused on. That's what we're heads down on. When it comes to the partnership with Rokt, where they really fit in this in a nice, seamless way for us, is we have a really open and honest partnership with them. So when we're sitting down and we're talking about performance and engagement metrics with the post checkout kind of experience with our shoppers and customers, we're aligned, right? So we're aligned on what does success look like. We're aligned when things aren't working, and then we're working through that, whether it's in additional data attributes or different ways to make that experience better for the customer so that we can drive higher engagements. But it's really starts with having, with it, whether it's with Rokt or any partner, honestly, Sri, it's sit down, have an open and honest conversation around what are you trying to achieve, how do you define the measures of success, and then being transparent around that as you go forward.
I think for us, we want to make sure we're bringing something to the table that's additive. We do not want to be disrupting the experience at all. In fact, one of Rokt's core missions is to declutter, to reduce, to make the experience on site more isolated to one or two things that we believe is going to be the most performing from an engagement perspective, and remove the paradox of choice. We know this when we're, shopping at a store with millions and millions of options, the feeling is too much, and you can easily get distracted and walk away. But as we've seen with brands like Trader Joe's, which limit you down to one option, and reducing the amount of choice you have, it makes it much easier for a customer or a consumer, especially when you're shopping online, you're being inundated with messaging, offers, products, to make a quick action. So what we bring to the table is we want to make sure we're bringing something that is additive. So in the performance with ADUSA, we are definitely looking at metrics like revenue, how much revenue we're driving per transaction, the engagement of the offers. Are people actually positively engaging with these offers in a way that is not disrupting what they're looking to hopefully experience. But we're also taking an evaluation on the downstream metrics as well. Are we impacting repeat shopping behavior? Are we increasing or decreasing the average order value when someone comes back to shop again? It's not just that initial, yes, someone engaged positively on an offer as a justification of that being strong performance, but Rokt is also looking at the 1, 2, 3 steps ahead in the future in terms of, is that person going to come back and engage in even a stronger way? And what is that an indication of as well? And how does that then redefine what that experience should be? Our product team has done a huge overhaul in terms of frequency and how many times people would be exposed to a Rokt placement. So much so the fact that we've reduced the amount of times we show offers to customers, because we really want to capitalize on quantity over quality. We have a belief that sometimes we don't want to show anything to a customer if we know that the next time they can come, we could drive a stronger outcome for them. So those are, would say, are some of the metrics that we look at in determining strong partnership and ultimate long-term success for the brands we work with.
So this sounds really great, guys. Let me go to Stephen and then Bobby. What do you find has been successful in the partnership so far that encourages you that this is a long-term partnership that's going to deliver value in the ecosystem?
Yeah, I know Bobby mentioned it earlier around non-endemic. I think non-endemic is definitely new, particularly for brands that, really want to prioritize their own endemic offerings or solutions. And we respect that as a business. So I think the two ingredients of success that we have tried to move forward with as we embark on this partnership, which is still relatively new, but really exciting, is one, customer experience. So what the customer is exposed to and how they're feeling about it, but also the internal experience too for ADUSA. How are they feeling about the offers on the site? How do we make the team really comfortable with what we're delivering on and the value that we're adding? So yes, I think the number one goal that we have as both businesses is driving incremental revenue and value for each other, but doing it in a way that we can crawl, walk, run, so we could set the partnership up for long-term success that not only encompasses one solution, but a partnership where we're really able to help ADUSA across the transaction as we do with other retailers.
So Bobby, Stephen said the ingredients for success are the customer experience and then the experience of ADUSA. How's that playing out on your end?
Yeah, it's playing out well. And it's funny, as Stephen was talking there, he talked about, kind of making sure that we're partnering together at the right time, working on the right things. And one of the things that was hitting me there is like what's been really successful with the partnership is moving at the right pace. Non-endemic can be scary to marketeers inside of our grocery organization. So like having that experience on the right place in the overall customer experience is extremely key to them, right? And to us to make sure that we're protecting the customer experience. And so what I would say about Rokt is they've been phenomenal partners around bringing expertise and then saying, okay, let's go at the right pace. Let's start here. Let's start with a single ad. Let's see how consumers respond. Let's measure that. Okay, this is working well. Then let's expand that. Are there other places within the site experience that we can start to explore in the future? Absolutely. But at least what I feel like in the partnership is it's not like, to Stephen said it, like we're not just trying to drive a ton of quantity and push a bunch of ads and let's just go and shove as much as we can into the experience. It's really about what's the right quality, the right placement that you want to have as a starting point, measure that, and then move forward. As I think about kind of the evolution of it, though, I think for us it's like, where else? I said that a moment ago, but like, where else in the customer experience can we do this in a really cool way that's not just post-checkout, but actually in the checkout experience? And so that's where I think about the future is like, how can we do that differently?
Awesome. Thank you for that, Stephen and Bobby. Let me remind our audience that today I'm speaking with Bobby Watts, SVP at AD Media, part of the Ahold USA, and Stephen Rivera, Senior Director of Client Partnerships at Rokt. Stephen, the next one is for you. And I'm going to try and now get to the value proposition, which you've kind of started getting steadily and slowly into. But how does Rokt help retailers like Bobby and subsequently brands who ultimately want to get to the checkout transaction keep customer experiences paramount on their shopper journeys? Because at the end of the day, that's what everyone gets measured on, transactions.
Yep, it's a fair question. I think, across the retailers and brands we work with, whether it be ADUSA, Macy's, Kohl's, et cetera, I think the common goal that we all have is customer experience and putting customer at the front. And again, talking about some of the Rokt ethos, customer at the front is where we believe we want to make sure everything we produce from a product perspective has that in mind. Ultimately, I think that when we think about Rokt, we think about it as how brands can unlock a white glove performance marketing tool, right? And on that tool, you have endless options for experimentation, design, a white glove service of account management support to really advise on what is best in class. What are other brands that look like you doing and not doing, which you should be thinking about? How do we support a variety of goals and how you balance priorities? I think, for many of the brands that we work with, a lot of them come on board to really drive incremental ad dollars. And we do that really, really well, right? But as we think about phase 2, phase 3 of partnership growth is how do you use machine learning, first party data in a way that you're not doing it already, right? And how do you take a lot of the products and the placements that you have on your site to the next level? But I think at the bottom, at the base of it all, it really comes down to what are the ultimate goals of the business and what is the business ultimately trying to achieve. Rokt can help brands do a lot and balance a lot at once through unlocking a lot of the performance and the tools that we have to give to brands to achieve that.
So, Stephen, a follow-up question. Let's talk about personalization of customer experiences. What are the data sets that you require, and how do you go about helping ADUSA through their retail media arm accomplish this? Let's get a little under the hood and see what the Hemi looks like, shall we?
Yeah, for sure. So We go back to easy activations, light lift. You think about a front end experience and a back end experience, right? So with Rokt, you could deploy once and unlock limitless experience of creative designs, messaging, variant testing, etc. But what really lives under the hood is access for Rokt to 30 plus first party data attributes, which we could then use with our years or 11 plus years now of machine learning to really optimize the experience, the customer experience on a one-to-one basis, right? So let's say we identify Bobby as an older gentleman living in South USA, and he wants to go check out on ADUSA. We do believe, based on his previous engagement, that a non-endemic offer would be the best offer to show him based on previous engagement. We could recognize that and serve up that offer in the best way. But then you look at somebody like Sarah, for instance, who might skew younger. Maybe she's really involved with some of the brands of ADUSA, but she would be the perfect contender to opt in for their loyalty program or for their credit card. How do we then serve the best even internal messaging for that customer based on what we know about her? Rokt cohorts user segments across the entire transaction portfolio, which really allows us the opportunity to isolate and then serve up what we believe is the next best action while reducing a lot of the noise and the clutter on the page.
Thank you for that, Bobby. Data. The whole industry has been talking about data for 3 years now. RMNs produce, I would say, some of the most important data pieces now on a shopper journey, because I think every single brand, large, small, mid-tier, is figured out. You get acquisition data. You can talk about things like new to brand. You can talk about returning households that have been lost over the inflationary issues of the last 3 years. And then you can focus on loyalty building as well, so that you can indeed move people from consideration sets or customers from primarily getting exposed to the brand to consideration sets and to the transaction. So could you give us a brief overview of how to leverage data from different channels on ADUSA Media to inform a brand's omni-channel strategy?
Yeah, I think about it in two ways, Sri, and you just covered most of the first one, I think. So, but like when you really think about it, it is exactly as you said. If you're going to have a full funnel offering, then you got to have the right KPIs to be able to measure that funnel across each of those different consumer kind of pathways or points within the journey. And so you talked about it, where RMNs play a really amazing role, and then part of the secret sauce here, right? It's been advertised for years, is that the RMNs bring that first party data that you can then tie right back to consumer behavior. What we're starting to look at even further is like beyond just kind of traditional advertising metrics, we're looking at site behavior now as well. And so where is the consumer engaging with the site? Where are they bouncing off the site? Where are they converting off the site? And so how does that start to inform? And then you start thinking about the evolution of creative and being able to have dynamic creative and bring more AI generated creative to the mix, and where do consumers engage with that? And so those are all the conversations we're having, Sri, along with everything you just said. The second part I think about with data is a little bit of what Stephen was talking about, and how Rokt's thinking about AI, ML, and how you're really leveraging the data in a different way than historically kind of thought about in the way of just traditional audience targeting or traditional audience building. To me, that's going to take a monumental shift in the industry, because I still sit in a ton of conversations with folks where they just want to build legacy. I want to reach this types of lapsed consumer or this. And it's like, no, like we have so much better, technology at our fingertips today in the RMN space, where you can leverage AI or ML or, a version of propensity modeling to say, if the objective is to reach consumers through that type of technology, let the AI do its work. Don't lock yourself into just building a set static audience. Expand your reach, have a more efficient media spend, and then measure on the back end what you want to measure in the way of how particular consumer segments engaged. But to me, that's a big shift in the industry when you think about how we're using data in the future, Sri.
And Sri, if you wouldn't mind maybe me just piggybacking on Bobby's point there, first party data and data in general can be scary, right? And I think we want to make sure that we are offering up a solution as a third party partner or vendor, if you will, that creates a really safe space where with aligned objectives where our partners are always in full control. And I think that that's another core element to what we offer is full control and transparency of the partnerships that we have. So our partners maintain full control of their data, how it is used, and we really make sure that, again, in the spirit of crawl, walk, run, there's a limited data set required to launch with Rokt. But we do see over time, the more our partners lean in to the integration itself, the stronger outcomes we see in terms of relevance across the transaction. So going back to that core model is we solve for relevance in the transaction moment. If we constrict that, if we limit it to the bare bones to launch in a way that is customer oriented, we sometimes fail on the mission to deliver that relevance. So we see the partnerships with Rokt that are most fruitful are the ones where the partners really in to fuel the algorithm so that we could provide the best outcomes to the people shopping on.
Which gives value back to the consumer, right, at the end of the day, because relevancy equals value. You're serving up ads that is wallpaper that doesn't create value for the advertiser or for the customer.
Very true indeed. On that very value topic, Stephen, as you assess what you guys have been doing with Ahold Delhaize so far, what opportunities do you see for 2025 that could, boost this partnership even further? So because the common mission both of you have and brands have is pretty straightforward, which is deliver, quality products at the best value for the customer and be easily able to find, transact, and get through the POS cycle.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, Sri. I think Bobby was alluding to it earlier, but if you look at the transaction moment as a gradient, right, and we're sitting right now on the confirmation page where a lot of our partnerships do, it's light lift, it's easy entry, et cetera. How do we start to think about more of the upper funnel solutions that Rokt offers that could really tie the total experience together, right? So a really low hanging fruit opportunity that I think we could, and I think are prepared to explore as we think about coming out of Q4 holiday, et cetera, is how do we maximize value for ADUSA on what we see in the payments page? It's a highly lucrative space where financial providers are open, willing, and ready to bid extremely aggressively to get in front of you. So Rokt has been able to curate a marketplace of financial providers where we believe there could be a ton of value for ADUSA outside of the non-endemic revenue that we're driving on the confirmation page today. So I would say that's probably immediate. But also I think it is it's really important as we think about building internal advocacy is how do we offer something back to the business? How do I make Bobby the champion going internally and being like, hey, listen, non-endemic's not for everyone, right? But how are we able to use Rokt as a technology provider to make our own program stronger? The non-endemic revenue is there, sure, but we also have so much confidence in our ability to amplify, strengthen, and improve the internal programs as well. So how does he go to one of his colleagues and say, let's test Rokt to get people to opt into our loyalty program? They can drive incremental signups by over 30%. How do we get them to how do we use Rokt to lean into our app downloads? It's a KPI of ours for 2025. We believe there's potential there. So I think it's working with the team, working with Bobby to see what makes sense to increase some of the adoption for the more first party oriented endemic offerings that we know we could drive incredible value for.
Terrific, Stephen. So, Bob, I'm going to give you the final question. From your perspective, as you look forward, how do you envision the partnership evolving to better anticipate and respond to changing customer needs?
Yeah, I think Stephen highlighted a couple examples there as we think about the partnership as we go forward, because it can be a really amazing catalyst for driving adoption to the loyalty program as he articulated. And let's have an honest moment. The loyalty program is what fuels the retail media network, right? So without a very solid and active and highly engaged loyalty group within the loyalty programs, you kind of miss out on that first party data connection that you need. So it's a bit of a continuous cycle. And so when we think about the future, it's exactly as Stephen articulated. I'm also extremely interested, as he talked about kind of the payments page, and you think about getting beyond confirmation page. That is where we put our toe in the water. That is where we felt comfortable starting. But we know that's not the end game. That was literally, as Stephen articulated, just the beginning of the partnership that we have. So I think for us, as we learn together, we'll iterate together, and the consumer will tell us, right? The consumer will tell us where are the right places to mark or place your bets, if you will. And we'll make some bad choices and we'll make more good choices. I like to say win more than you lose. using the Yankees and the Dodgers analogies, like those are great, right? Those guys win more than they lose. And that's what we want to do with Rokt, is pick some spots, make some bets, and win more than we lose. And when we win, let's do more of that. When we lose, let's be quick and agile and stop that and move on. So, and they've been great partners to talk through that kind of stuff with us.
Nothing sounds as good as a guy from the Northeast talking about the Yankees winning. Thank you for that, Bobby. I'll remember that for a lifetime. And hopefully, at the time of this recording, Bobby is set to do a live event with us at Grocery Shop. Hopefully, we'll be talking about the ALCS at that point, and getting ready for it, because the Yankees will get a bye in the first round. In the first round. So that said, let me remind our audience of the URL cpgguys.com, where you can find all of our content simply by going to a web browser and typing cpgguys.com. And if you think you or your company has gone through some thought leadership to contribute to a community discussion, drop us an email at contact@cpgguys.com. That's again, contact@cpgguys.com. And maybe you can join us on the podcast. Don't forget to drop us a rating at cpgguys.com in the navigation bar up top, because it tells us how we're doing. Your review actually tells us whether we're having the right conversations with the right folks and we're bringing the right brands on the show. To all our LinkedIn followers, I can't thank you enough for the DMs, clicks, likes, comments. Peter and I to the day are amazed that we've created a little bit of a movement here in the CPG industry and retail. And without you, this show doesn't exist. So 425 plus episodes later, thank you, thank you, thank you. Bobby and Stephen, thank you for making time to record this first thing on a Monday morning. I know your weeks are busy, but you chose to come here and join us. So thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, what did we learn today?
Sri, we learned a lot. In this conversation, we learned about how Rokt is using machine learning across vast data sets to delight consumers with relevant offers. And it's post-confirmation is where they've started with ADUSA. AD is focused on easy activation anywhere to impact the shopper. I loved how simple Bobby made that, easy activation anywhere. And ultimately looking to drive more connected experience in store and online. And Rokt really delivers that. It's about surprising and delighting consumers around value. And the initial foray is around non-endemic opportunities post-confirmation. But I thought it was amazing that Rokt sits across over 4.6 billion transactions, really focused on improving the on-site experience. And it's helping AD pivot to non-endemic brand opportunities to help increase the value of the experience, and doing so at the transaction moment. That the ingredients for success, according to Stephen, are around both making a fantastic customer experience and making sure that ADUSA is seeing tremendous value and having a great experience. And most importantly, it's about delivering quality of communications and opportunities more so than quantity. That it doesn't mean that everyone needs that interaction every time they transact. It's really about making sure you have the right data points that you are very confident will delight the customer. They'll see it as relevant. And while they may not activate against it, they'll be pleased that they got it. A couple more in terms of, first-party data can be really scary, but Rokt wants to create a safe space where partners are always in control of the integration and can lean more in as they get more comfortable with the data set. They want to be a catalyst to driving adoption of AD's loyalty program. I think that's a really great aspirational objective, because at the end of the day, that's the connection between the retailer and their customer. The more they're engaged, the more they learn about them, the more they can give them relative ways to drive value. And while the engagement started with the post-transaction experience, Bobby can already see applications further up the chain and even from beyond non-endemic to actually endemic opportunities. So it seems to me like Rokt has created a real value proposition for both AD and its customers. So those are my summary thoughts, Sri.
Peter, thank you for doing that. That's a wrap of this episode of the CPG Guys. See you soon. Of course, do check out what we said earlier in the show, and you can find it in the digital liner notes of this episode. Cornell and the CPG Guys will be partnering together on the first executive education program dedicated to retail media, May 2025. Much more details to come on our LinkedIn page, as well as here on the show. Thank you. That's a wrap. See you soon.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.